Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What is up, you guys? Welcome to the stream as the New York Mets complete the sweep of the Colorado Rockies. They take this one a final of 5-3. They take care of business this weekend, just like we had been asking them to do this entire week heading into this series with the hapless Colorado Rockies, who are now setting records for all of the wrong reasons as they fall to 9-50 on the season. We'll get into some of that in a little bit here on the stream, but a great weekend for the Mets as they round out with the series with the Rockies here with a 5-3 victory. Homers from Francisco Lindor, from Pete Alonso, from Juan Soto, the big boys in the lineup taking care of business this entire weekend against Colorado. So great signs all around. Guys, what's up? I'm Tony Metro. If you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I do daily Mets content, including post-game recaps and shorts, also long form videos, including my most recent one, the bizarre journey of Bobby Valentine, chronicling his baseball journey throughout his entire life, and so much more. But also be sure to leave this stream a like. It really goes a long way toward helping out the channel. So guys, let's get into it. I mean, awesome weekend for the Mets here as they put the finishing touches on a sweep of the Colorado Rockies here. And you know, if you watch my streams, you know that I said this entire week that the Mets need to take care of business here against Colorado. I mean, looking like they will be historically one of the worst teams, and they do set history today, again, for not a good reason, as they fall to 9-50 on the year. And this is just an opportunity the Mets cannot let fall by the wayside, and they didn't. You know, we knew that they were going to have this really nice stretch after having a somewhat difficult stretch with the Yankees, with the Dodgers, and throw the Red Sox in there as well. And the Mets came out of that little 9-game stretch at 4-5. But then we knew it was going to soften up because they were going to have 3 with the White Sox and then 3 more this weekend with the Rockies. I said before this all last Sunday, entering that White Sox series, I want all 6 of these games. Give me 6 in a row. These should be back-to-back sweeps. They fall short of doing that against Chicago. They only win 2 out of 3. But they do come out and they finish the sweep over the Colorado Rockies here this afternoon. So really happy to hear and really happy to see that happen as the Mets improve to 37-22, now 15 games over 500. That is their high water mark for the season. 14 was, and they, of course, improve on that with the W today. So let's get into it. Clay Holmes on the mound for the Mets, and it was actually the Rockies, just like yesterday, hitting a solo homer in the early portion of this game to open the scoring and give them the lead. So it was a home run there. It was for Orlando Arcia, who, the former Brave, of course, you know, comes and puts on a Rockies uniform, doesn't matter, still comes back to haunt the Mets in some fashion. So he hits the solo homer. That one came in the 3rd inning of this one, and that put the Mets behind 1-0. But the Mets coming back just an inning later in the bottom of the 3rd, first 2 runners aboard. Starling Marte able to work a walk. Juan Soto gets hit by a pitch, and then Pete Alonso going the other way with that one, hitting it out to right field. Didn't look like he got all of that one off the bat. I got to be honest, when Pete hit that ball, I was thinking like, could push for a home run, but I was thinking more like warning track. I thought he might have got it off the end, but no, Pete Alonso, Polar Bear powering that ball out, couple rows deep into right field, over toward that little jutting stands over by the Pepsi porch, Coca-Cola corner, whatever they call it, and the Mets go out 3-1, but unfortunately wouldn't last too long. The very next half inning, Clay Holmes gives up another home run, a 2-run shot, this time to Freeman of the Colorado Rockies to tie things up at 3-3, and that would make this a dead even ball game. That was until, again, the very next half inning, Francisco Lindor popping a solo homer to left field. Mets go ahead 4-3. And then later on, Juan Soto adding a solo home run. Now homers in back-to-back games for Juan Soto. So great sign there. Hit it off a forkball. Really good to see him sticking with that pitch, even dropping down to a knee when he hit that homer out to right field. So love to see it from Soto. Love to see it from Lindor and Alonso. And then, of course, Edwin Diaz coming in and just slamming the door in the 9th. Gives up a leadoff base hit, but really, was there any doubt? I mean, this guy has just been lights out this month. I mean, didn't give up a run the entire month of May. Prior to that hit to lead off the 9th inning, batters had been 0 for their last 30 against Edwin Diaz. Of course, Gary Cohen gives the broadcaster jinx. He says that right before they get the leadoff base hit in the ninth from Sam Hilliard. But no problem at all from there. Edwin Diaz ends up striking out a couple more in that inning and puts this one to rest, put it in the books. The Mets win all 3 of this set with the Colorado Rockies. They finish off the sweep with them. Really, really great sign from this team. You know, that the Mets were able to take care of business. That's the bottom line. Like, we know the Rockies are historically bad, but this is what good teams need to do to bad teams. They need to pound them. They need to absolutely leave no doubt. Now, the first game of this series on Friday, obviously it was not like, you know, the Mets ran away with it. Yesterday, the final score was 7-2, and while they didn't run away with it, it was a pretty convincing win. And then today, even, you know, again, the final score is 5-3. It's a 2-run ball game, but honestly, I mean, the Mets did what they had to do. The hitters looked like they were taking really good approaches at the plate, and you got big contributions from the top tier names of this lineup. Francisco Lindor with 2 homers on Friday. He adds another one today that turns out to be the game winner. Juan Soto with homers in back-to-back games yesterday and today, and on Friday had a 2-hit game, including an RBI double. And then Pete Alonso getting in on the action with the big 3-run homer as well. So those are really good signs, because those 3 guys I said at the end of last week were all kind of going into a slump at the same time. You know, Soto's obviously had his struggles pretty much from the jump, outside of a little 2-week stretch where he was really hot, but good to see him hopefully coming out of it. Pete Alonso started red hot, then definitely started to taper off, but he is definitely starting to tread water now. He's getting basically a hit per game, and yeah, maybe he's only going 1 for 4 each time, but continues to, as they say, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away, that kind of thing with Pete Alonso. That's great to see. And then with Francisco Lindor, I mean, he is back on a tear. I mean, 2 homers on Friday, hits another one today. I believe had a hit or 2 in yesterday's ball game as well. So Francisco Lindor looking like he was the first month and a half of the season as well. So really, really great signs all around from the top 3, top 4 in this order. You know, depending, of course, on lineup machinations for this team. We now know that 2-hitter spot has been moved with Nimmo and Marte getting opportunities there, and they're hitting Soto third. So don't know if the lineup change is what did it for these guys, but really, really glad to see the big names in this lineup starting to look more like the back of their baseball cards than what we had been seeing over that little 2-week stretch that began with the Pittsburgh Pirates back in the middle of May. So really, really good signs there. Let's talk about the pitching. So obviously Clay Holmes was on the mound today for the Mets. Obviously not as great a start. You know, 7 innings, 3 runs. Typically you're thinking, all right, that's a solid start. It gives you length, 3 runs. You got a chance to win that ball game. And obviously the Mets do that. But coming against the Colorado Rockies lineup that, I mean, outside of basically Doyle and outside of Tovar, don't have any names in it. McMahon, they really don't have much offensive talent. So it was a little, I wouldn't say frustrating, but a little surprising that Holmes actually gave up 2 home runs in this game. And it's also surprising because if you guys remember, it was something like his first 130, 140 batters of the season. Clay Holmes had not given up a home run this year. So early on in the season, Holmes was not susceptible to the long ball whatsoever. But now, over his last several starts, he has been giving up a lot of round trippers to the opposition, which is just a little odd considering how it started. You know, we knew it wasn't sustainable that he would just not give up homers to his first 140 batters of the season, but lately he's been definitely giving up a lot more home runs. So he gives up 2 today against the Rockies. He gave up 2 in the start against Boston. He gave up 2 against that previous start against Pittsburgh and 1 against the Cubbies a few weeks before that. So, you know, 4 of his last 5 starts now he's given up homers, and 3 of those he's given up 2 homers. So home runs, definitely something that is something to monitor with Clay Holmes. Hopefully, you know, this isn't a long-standing issue with him. Again, it's just a surprise considering how Holmes began the season, where first 150 batters or so that he had faced in 2025, he had not given up a home run. Now, all of a sudden, he's given up 7 home runs in his past 4 starts. But putting that to the side, his overall final line, you got to be happy with. The stuff looked like it was there. He was throwing all of his different breaking balls. He obviously used that sinker to a very effective ability as well. and he ends up getting through 7 innings. You know, we're not going to throw him a parade. We're not going to give him a bouquet of flowers. Again, this is the Colorado Rockies lineup that we're talking about, a team that just set history for being horrific and terrible at baseball. But you got to be happy to get 7 innings, 3 runs in this one, gives the Mets a chance to win. And by the way, the Phillies and Brewers have just went final. I wish I had an alarm sound. If I did, I would, or I'd be ringing a bell. The Phillies are swept by the Brewers out of Citizens Bank Park, a final of 5-2. So your New York Mets are back and in sole possession of first place in the National League East. What is up, you guys? D-Rels, how we doing, my man? Everyday Mets bringing out the brooms for 2 reasons. The Mets finished their sweep of the Rockies, and simultaneously the Phillies just got swept by the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank you, Milwaukee. I've always loved your city. I've been once. It's actually a beautiful place. The beer is great. The brats are all out there. I mean, great place. Great place. I love Milwaukee. They finished the sweep. They do some of our bidding for us. And the Mets are now officially 1 game up on the Phillies in the National League East. And this is what I was talking about all this week leading into this series with the Rockies. You know, a lot of fans were getting all upset and up in arms. Oh, the Phillies are up 2.5 games. And, you know, the Mets are going to be out of the division race pretty soon. And I said, everybody just take a chill pill. Hold on. The Phillies just had a 4-game set with the Rockies in Denver last week, and they swept all 4 of those. They did what a good team should do. They took care of business against the bottom division team. Let's see how they play against some of the big boys. You know, the Brewers are one of those middle tier kind of teams, and look what happened. They end up getting swept. The Mets get their chance against the Rockies, and they take care of business and get a sweep of their own. And boom, just like that, the Mets gained 3 games on the Phillies this weekend and are back a game ahead in the National League East. So love to see it. It's early. We can't get too hyped about it. It's literally June 1st, by the way. Happy anniversary of the Johan Santana first ever no-hitter, and really only true no-hitter in New York Mets history. Really fun day, right? So great news on that side. Getting back to Clay Holmes, you know, happy about that. 7 innings pitched, gives up 3 runs. Again, the only thing is those homers. It's just a little surprising to see how many home runs he's been giving up recently. That's now 7 in his last 5 starts. So something to monitor maybe. I don't know if it's a particular pitch that's been getting hit out of the ballpark for him very often, or if maybe his sequencing is just a little bit off in his arsenal, but something that definitely I would want to keep an eye on. And I'll do a little more research, see if there's any particular pitch that opposing hitters have been teeing off on lately. D-Rel says, trade Beatty now. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Trade that bum. What's up, champ? How you doing, man? Appreciate you hopping in. Same to you, everyday Mets. Love the brooms out there. Yeah, I mean, look, bad day for Beatty for sure. I mean, he went 0 for 3, 0 for 4, but his first 3 at-bats were all strikeouts. As he came up in the bottom of the 8th there with 2 outs, Gary Cohen goes, rough day for Beatty, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. First pitch on cue, swinging. Rollover ground out to second base. So yeah, a tough day for Brett Beatty for sure. But you know what? Made all the plays at third base. Mark Vientos had a double in this one. He also had another K in this one. So look, I mean, we'll figure out this third base position as we go along. But right now, Beatty, in my opinion, has earned more playing time at third base. I'd like to still get Vientos in there at DH. I don't see any trades coming anytime soon, and I don't think any of them are going to involve Beatty or Vientos at all. By the way, the Braves also lose a game today. Not that we're too concerned about them at the moment, but anything we could do to continue to distance ourselves from our National League East foes is always a good thing, no matter how early it is in the season. What's your guys' big takeaway from this game? Let me know in the comment section over here. For me, it's the big boys getting going. It's Alonso, it's Soto, it's Lindor, all hitting homers in this game. That's what we've been waiting for. You know, this is what we need to win games, right? You know, you're not going to get contributions from the young guys like Alvarez and Vientos and, you know, Acuna like we have not been lately. Well, then guess what? It's got to go to the superstar established players, and it's going to fall on them to do it. And they performed today. They performed all weekend long. Great series for Soto. Great series for Francisco Lindor. So that's my big takeaway. Those big 3 in this lineup having a really, really great series and a really great finale here on Sunday afternoon. So good day for the lineup in general. Lindor ends up 1 for 4 in this one. He hits his 13th homer of the season. So he actually now leads the Mets in home runs. Pete Alonso tied him with his 12th homer of the season in this one. He also was just 1 for 4 in this one, but a big 1 for 4 as he hits that 3-run homer to right field. He had tied him at 12 apiece, and then Lindor said, not so fast, hits this go-ahead homer right here in the bottom half of the fifth, right after the Rockies had tied it up for his 13th shot of the year. And then later on in the 8th inning, it was Juan Soto leaving the yard for his 10th homer of the year. Back-to-back games with home runs. Yesterday, he did it to left center field. Today, he does it to right field. So you just love to see it from Soto, using all the different parts of the outfield to be able to put the ball out of the park. So really, really great signs there. I mean, he had to lay back on that forkball. And I mean, you see it. He drops to that back knee to get it out. I mean, it was Adrian Beltre-esque the way he hung with that breaking ball and just let it basically collide into his bat and just powered it out. So really great sign there for sure. Pumped about that. Everyday Mets says, I love Rocky reliever Bird. He's got nasty stuff. I mean, yeah, he had some, 2 scoreless innings in this one, I think he did, right? He was pretty solid. And then that dude with the mustache, I want to just call him Mustachio. He didn't look so hot after that. He gives up the home run to Soto, and then I think he gave up another base hit later in that inning as well. That was Agnos, but Bird went 1 1/3 and had 3 punch outs. So, hey, name the monitor for sure as the trade deadline eventually comes along and the Mets might be seeking some bullpen help. That Bird guy definitely had some pretty nasty stuff. Let's take a look at his stats overall for the year, but 1.40 ERA is what he has in 32 1/3 innings pitched. He also has 39 strikeouts in that time. He's a righty, so I mean, this could definitely be something that the Mets might be looking to add at the deadline. So good call by you there, Everyday Mets, as the team gets closer and closer to the middle of July, and they'll be definitely, it looks like, adding as they look to make a good playoff push and hopefully take the National League East, which again, after the Phillies completely lose their series to the Brewers here this weekend and the Mets finish their sweep of the Rockies, the Mets have sole possession of first place, up 1 game on Philadelphia. So the sky is not falling like we thought maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Everything is okay. It's a long ass season. There's lot of time still. So peaks and valleys. I wouldn't even say this is a peak for the Mets. The Mets are playing good ball. It's obviously against some not great competition, but there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. Right now, I think the Mets are riding the up of a peak that will eventually come, but not quite yet. I think there's still better, even better baseball that this team can play. But overall, the good starting pitching continued in this series. A great outing from Senga, who worked into the 7th, gave up just 2 hits and 2 runs on Friday. It was, who was it on Friday? Not Tyler McGill. I think on Friday when the Mets won by a final of 4-2, it was David Peterson, who was tremendous. He ended up going into the 7th inning as well in that one before getting pulled. And then today you get 7 complete innings from Clay Holmes. So again, the starting pitching trend of just great starts continues for the Mets. And then you get the bats starting to come alive as well. 3 straight games with 3 homers for the Mets in this series. I mean, sometimes you just need to play one of these lower tier teams to jumpstart something even bigger, right? Like, we're not going to go throw them a parade for sweeping the Rockies. Like I said, they are 9-49 or 9-50 now, which sets a mark for the fastest 250 losses in a season since the 1884 Kansas City Union. I mean, we are talking about a 160-year-old record that the Colorado Rockies just broke. 140, whatever amount of years it is. I mean, they are just unbelievably bad, which is crazy because it's not even they're throwing the ball around the field and this, and they can't pitch a lick. They just, I don't know, don't have the talent at all in any of the 3 facets of the game. But defensively, they looked okay. They can't hit, that's for sure. And they chase and they swing at everything. So their approach is definitely not great. And their pitching was okay. I mean, this kid was just absolutely dominating the Mets for the first 3 innings of this one until they finally were able to snap out of it and get that 3-run homer from Pete. But overall, really, really happy that the Mets were able to take care of business here. Let's go through the rest of the lineup really quick. I mentioned the first few in here. Lindor 1 for 4, the homer. Marte 0 for 2, but did draw that walk leading off the bottom of the fourth, which set up that inning for Alonso's 3-run homer in this one. Soto ends up 1 for 2. He also draws a walk and has his solo shot. So batting average up to 233, was 225 entering this weekend. So up 8 points. So good sign there. OPS up to 792. Obviously, we want that way, way, way higher. I think it will come with time. So we'll see how that goes. And then Alonso 1 for 4, the 3 RBIs on the big shot. Beatty, tough one, 0 for 4, 3 Ks. We talked about that already. Luis Torrens 0 for 3. He actually hit one, though, out to right center field that got to the warning track. I thought that ball might have been out. That was in the same inning that Alonso had his home run, but comes up about 15 feet short of hitting a bomb. Vientos 1 for 3. He laced a double in the left center field. And then Tyrone Taylor ends up 1 for 3 as well in this game. Hitless day for Luis Angel Acuna, and the batting average is down to 246. We know he still has not hit a home run this year, and the more and more we hear about Ronnie Mauricio dominating in AAA, the more likely it seems that it is imminent that the Mets are going to make that change, that they are going to send Luis Angel Acuna down to AAA, and they are going to bring Ronnie Mauricio up. It seems inevitable at this point. I don't see how the Mets don't eventually do this, and in my mind, I'm thinking sooner rather than later, because Mauricio is absolutely tearing up AAA pitching, and Luis Angel Acuna seemingly has not got a base hit in weeks. I can't even remember the last time Luis Angel Acuna got on base, and it wasn't because he was pinch running for somebody else. So it's been a really rough stretch for Luis Angel Acuna. It's been a really rough stretch for all of the young Mets outside of Brett Beatty right now. So hopefully some of these guys will start taking steps forward. Francisco Alvarez obviously got the day off, day game after night game from last night, but I don't know. It's definitely a little concerning to not be getting the contributions we thought we would be getting from those young names, not Brett Beatty. Beatty's really the only one that's been, living up to that expectation of being a former top prospect. The other 3 guys that I just mentioned, not so much lately. Everyday Mets, it's still about the Bird comment. Yeah, that Bird guy was good. Jake Bird is his name, righty. He is, how old is this guy? He is 28 years old and under contract through 2029. So that is going to be an expensive acquisition. Honestly, I'm not so sure that the Rockies would even trade him at this point. I mean, look, the Rockies aren't competing anytime soon. That's very clear and apparent, but we're talking an expensive trade. Even as a reliever, the dude is under team control through 2029. So 4 more seasons after this one. So that tells me that it's going to be a very, very costly acquisition for anyone looking to bring him into their bullpen. But I mean, hey, who knows? Could happen. So overall, I thought a really good weekend for the Mets bats. It wasn't perfect. They do score 7 runs yesterday. They scored 4 on Friday, and then they scored 5 more today, getting closer to that 5 runs per game trend that we're looking for. So really happy about that. The big boys doing what they needed to do. Again, it's the young guys that I'm a little concerned about, and hopefully they will come around. But pitching was all around great this weekend, as kind of expected, going against the Colorado Rockies. But we went through Clay Holmes, but Reed Garrett once again coming in the 8th inning. He gives up a base hit, but then actually gets a clutch strikeout there to put the end to that threat. Now, at that time, the score was still 4-3 in the top of the 8th inning. So he does give up a base hit to lead off the 8th inning, but then able to work out of it, including 2 strikeouts, one of them to end that inning right there. Nasty little splitter there that the Colorado Rockies hitter just swung right over and put the threat to bed. So Reed Garrett just continues to be tremendous. Lowers his season ERA from 0.74 down to 0.70. Yes, that is still the lowest among all National League relievers. I mean, it might even be the lowest among any reliever in all of Major League Baseball. I have not checked the American League relievers list, but 0.70, and this isn't like he's thrown 15 in, no, he's up closer to like 36 innings at this point in the season now for Reed Garrett. So just absolutely tremendous. The bridge of being a setup man, getting the ball, passing the baton to Edwin Diaz for the 9th inning has been unbelievable from Reed Garrett. And then Edwin Diaz, I mean, what more can you say? Guy didn't give up a run the entire month of May. His previous 30 hitters coming into today's game had been 0 for 30. He had only given up only given up 3 hits in his last 7 appearances, and then comes out today. Of course, Gary Cohen with the broadcaster jinx says that his previous 30 hitters are all 0 for against him. Leadoff base hit, and then from there, just turned it on. 3 straight strikeouts, no doubt about it. Leaves the runner at second base as he continues to be perfect this year in save opportunities for him. That is, I believe, his 12th save of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I believe that would be his 12th or 13th save of the year now. So Diaz is looking more and more like 2022 Edwin Diaz, who had that historic season for the Mets, as he gets more and more comfortable, probably recovering from that torn ACL that he suffered after celebrating the World Baseball Classic, and he gets that arm speed back up to where it needs to be. But guys, let me know in the comment section, what is your big takeaway from this game? What are you most happy about from seeing against this from the Mets this weekend? Me personally, it's a lot of things. It's to see that the starting pitching continues to pitch well. It's to see the big 3 in the lineup have really good weeks. And then it's really to see Edwin Diaz and the bullpen continue to hold down the fort. You know, it's obviously been a little bit damaged here with AJ Minter going out for the year, with Danny Young, who, you know, obviously say what you want about him, was pitching pretty well for his short time here in 2025. But to lose both of your lefties at the exact same time is not an easy task to overcome. And the Mets have pretty much done it in flying colors. There was a rough little week and a half stretch there where we were seeing guys like Chris Davinsky, who actually pitched in this series. He pitched yesterday to close out the 9th inning, but we don't want to see much of Chris Davinsky. That's not a winning formula. Trust me on that one. But Genesis Cabrera and guys of that ilk. So the Mets were able to navigate some pretty murky waters with the bullpen, having so many injuries all come at the same time, and one of them to being arguably the second most important reliever in the bullpen with AJ Minter. But really, really great job from the Mets, able to figure all of that out. But let me know in the comment section what you guys are most pleased about from this weekend. As I get I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about. It's a great weekend. I guess let's take a look at the upcoming series here with the Dodgers. Obviously, things are not going to get easier. They're only going to get more difficult now heading into the next series as they head out to the West Coast. The Mets are going to take their shower right now in the clubhouse. They're going to put on a fresh pair of clothes and head out right to LaGuardia or out to JFK as they go across the country to take on the defending World Series champs now here for the second time in the last week. A 4-game set with the Dodgers, who maybe the Mets will be catching at the right time. So we know the Mets won 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers at Citi Field last weekend. Now we go and play them on their home turf at Chavez Ravine this week for 4. But the Dodgers are coming off a series right now against the Yankees. And we know, obviously, it's the World Series rematch from last year. Maybe there's a little bit of an emotional letdown for the Dodgers heading into this week with the Mets. So yesterday they just bombarded the Yankees. I think the final score was 14-2 or something like that. In that one, they went out and won 8-5 on Friday against the Yankees. You know, those crowds, especially a weekend series, were absolutely just raucous and crazy for that one. And now the Yankees and the Dodgers will wrap that series up tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. So very possible the Dodgers have a little bit of an emotional letdown, a little bit of a hangover from such a kind of jam-packed and like high energy weekend with the Yankees. So this might be the perfect time that the Mets are going out to the West Coast for 4 games with Los Angeles right here. So we know that the Mets are going to have the debut of Paul Blackburn tomorrow. So Monday night scheduled starter for the Mets is in fact Paul Blackburn, as he is returning from his knee injury that he had during spring training. We know the Mets acquired Blackburn at last year's deadline from Oakland, made a handful of starts for them. Some were good, some were not so great, and he ended up getting injured and did not pitch in the postseason for the team. The Mets are planning now to basically go to this 6-man rotation. And most of that is to accommodate Kodai Senga. As we know, Senga still, even now 3 years into his MLB career, more accustomed to the Japanese situation where they go with 6-man rotations out in the Japanese baseball league. So I think that's the biggest part of it, but we do know that the Mets starters have basically taken the ball every 5th day. There have been a lot of games and not a lot of time here. I mean, I can't believe it's June 1st. The Mets are now, 36-22. So that is 58 games? No, 60. I don't know. I'm bad at math. But really good sign, though, that everyone has stayed healthy to this point, that we started the season with in this rotation, and now reinforcements are on the way. And we'll get the first taste of it with Paul Blackburn. One of the great things about today's game and Clay Holmes going 7, and a big reason I think Mendoza did send him back out there for the 7th today, is because you can't probably expect Paul Blackburn to give you much more than 4 or 5 innings tomorrow against the Dodgers. It'll be his first major league start since last August, and against the Dodgers lineup that we know is as talented as any in baseball. So I wouldn't expect to get more than 4 or 5 from Blackburn tomorrow, but luckily the Mets do have a relatively well-rested bullpen today, or after today's game. Garrett threw 1 inning, Diaz threw 1 inning, Braziban threw yesterday, so Mets should be clear with him for tomorrow. And then I would even say, if there is a save opportunity, Garrett and Edwin Diaz should likely also be available tomorrow as well. We haven't seen Ryan Stanek pretty much seemingly in weeks, I feel like. I don't think he pitched in this series at all against Colorado. So Ryan Stanek will definitely be available. He can step into that setup role if for some reason Reed Garrett wasn't able to pitch an inning for the Mets tomorrow. But it's gonna be a really tough series. I'm not gonna say it's a temperature check or a barometer of where the Mets are looking ahead to. Hey, can we beat the Dodgers in the postseason or not? We lost 3 or 4 that week in LA. No, totally different ball game come playoffs. But at this point, would be nice to see at the very, very least a sweep. And I'm not going to get greedy and say 3 or 4 or a sweep. They're still the defending champion Dodgers. They still buy every name out there. But starting rotation for the Dodgers is not as impressive as we thought it was going to be heading into this year, because they've been bitten by the injury bug. Blake Snell is out. Tyler Glasnow is out. Clayton Kershaw pitched relatively well against the Mets in that range-shortened start for him. So we'll see. He is actually going to be pitching against them in this series. But as of tomorrow's game, or as of right now for tomorrow's game, the Dodgers have not yet named a starting pitcher. We know they like to get cute and do bullpen games, just like we saw in the National League Championship Series last year. They do not have a pitcher listed for Tuesday either. That is Tylor Megill's spot in the order for the Mets. So tomorrow, Paul Blackburn. Tuesday, Tylor Megill. On Wednesday, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Dodgers have not named a starter, and that is the case. So basically no named starting pitchers for the Dodgers in this series at all. They will figure it out as they go along. On Wednesday, it will be Griffin Canning, and then on Thursday in that series finale, the Mets will be throwing, it should be Kodai Senga, but let me double check here. No, it'll be David Peterson. David Peterson, and again, Dodgers don't have a listed starter. So, look, I mean, it's going to be a tough series for sure. The Mets did just take 2 out of 3 against them here at home. I already have been on record saying it wasn't the most impressive 2 out of 3. That Friday game where they couldn't get the big hit and extras with runners in scoring position was frustrating as hell. But then they come back, they win the next 2, although they did not hit very well at all in that series. If they can carry over what they did here in this series against the Rockies, 3 straight games with 3 homers, then, we're going to have a good time out in LA. But the starting pitching for the Dodgers is definitely an issue. The Mets will not have Senga going, but they will have Griffin Canning going. They will have David Peterson going. And then it's basically a roll of the dice with Tylor Megill and with Paul Blackburn making his season debut tomorrow. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, I think, and what will likely dictate the series, who the Dodgers end up starting, and then the performances of Tylor Megill and Paul Blackburn in the first 2 of the series. Stanley, bad bitch, what's up, man? Bad bitch. Do you trust Blackburn to start against the Dodgers? No, if I'm being honest, not at all. Not even a little bit. I am basically going to chalk tomorrow up as a loss. I'm going to watch the game, but I'm not expecting great things from Paul Blackburn. think about that. You usually want to find like a soft spot for somebody to make their return, no matter who they are. Even if they were, Jacob deGrom coming back from injury, this guy has to go face the defending world champion Dodgers lineup. Like, no, I do not have a lot of faith or trust in Paul Blackburn starting against the Dodgers tomorrow. But crazier things have happened, I guess. All I'm looking for out of Blackburn tomorrow is give the Mets 4, maybe, this is probably asking for a lot, 5 innings of 2-run ball, and I would be satisfied with that start from Paul Blackburn. Like, the expectations are very low, and it's not so much about Blackburn himself, although I don't think he's like a top tier pitcher by any means. But first start back from his injury on the road and against the Dodgers, it just does not add up to a very impressive performance, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. James, what's up, man? No confidence Blackburn. He could get rocked. There you go. See, I didn't even read that comment till after I just said all that. Exactly how I feel. Not a lot of confidence in Blackburn, especially against the Dodgers on the road. That could be a bad one. And we know the Mets are probably offensively going to be a little sluggish because they're going to be on a red eye basically tonight from New York to LA. That's only going to make this way more difficult. So I have tempered expectations for this series with the Dodgers, and that is why I said I'm good with, 2 out of 4. And I'd be totally stoked about that. So Blackburn last year between the Mets and the A's, 75 innings pitched, 4.66 ERA. He struck out 7 per 9, and his opponent's batting average was 262. And it turns out they have now named a starting pitcher. The Dodgers will have Dustin May pitching for them. So Dustin May, Paul Blackburn, that is your pitching matchup for tomorrow's opener between the Mets and the Dodgers. May has not really panned out to be, the pitcher they thought he was going to be. He was touted as Ginger Guard. They called him like the Ginger Syndergaard. He had that long, luscious locks and everything. But 3-4 this year, 4.20 ERA. Injuries have really hurt him. He had Tommy John surgery, missed all of last season, and honestly just hasn't turned out to be that top prospect like frontline ace they thought they were going to have. So he's hittable for sure, but so is Paul Blackburn, and he's also making his season debut. So I'm a little concerned about tomorrow's game, especially after a red eye across the country. So knock on wood, we'll see. James says, yeah, ESPN has May, Kershaw, Gonsolin, and Knack. Okay, so MLB's website is just trash because they continuously always are telling me to be determined for the opposing pitchers for whatever reason. So let's see. May, Kershaw, Gonsolin, and Knack. So basically the exact same order of rotation that we saw when the Dodgers were at Citi Field. We started with Kershaw, went to Gonsolin, and then Knack. So the Mets were able to get to Knack a little bit, and then he kind of settled in, and he actually went further in that game than Senga did on Sunday. So that was like, okay, this guy's got an ERA over like 6, and the Mets kind of just stopped doing anything against him, which was frustrating. But the Mets were able to get to Gonsolin and get wins in both those games. So, I mean, look, the Mets have a good chance to win at least 2 out of 4 in this one, and that's all I'm asking for at this point. You consider the circumstances that it's McGill, that it's Blackburn making his debut, that there's no travel day and the Mets are going across the country on a red eye tonight. It just does not add up to like a great series for the Mets versus the Dodgers. The only thing that kind of stabilizes, makes everything kind of equal to me is that this is not a super talented Dodgers rotation right now. Faced those 3 guys before, Kershaw, Gonsolin, and Knack, and then Dustin May is, solid, still probably has some of that top prospect pedigree, but hasn't lived up to it. So we'll see how it plays out. James says they didn't fly Blackburn ahead of time. Yeah, which is weird to me. Why would they not have Blackburn sitting in his hotel in LA right now? And I was wondering that, but I did come across that news as well, which makes no sense for a guy that's like not even in uniform with the team right now because he's not activated. So why wouldn't they have just sent Blackburn out to LA, let him just, get used to the time zone, not have to worry about traveling? So that's probably a miscue by the Mets on that one for sure. Stanley Babbage says, trade Alvarez and start Torrens. All right. Look, Alvarez is pissing me off. Alvarez is frustrating the hell out of me, but we're not trading him. I mean, like, come on. First of all, he's a former top prospect, the former number one prospect in all of baseball. And I never will use that as a reason not to trade a guy, but we've seen him do it in the big leagues. 5 homers in 2023. Injuries have definitely stunted his career development. There's no doubt about it. He got hit on the same hand in back-to-back seasons and missed the first portions of 2024 and 2025. And he looks horrible at the plate. I'll give you all of that. He's great defensively, though. The pitching staff really likes pitching to him. And if he does tap into that offensive prowess and potential that we all thought he had and that he was scouted to have throughout his entire development in the minor leagues, it would be a massive error to trade Francisco out. So that is not happening. Hayden Sanger was really nice and really solid in his backup role for the first month and a half of this season, but that is not something, not a direction you want to go down. By trading Alvarez and making Sanger a part of this team's roster, no, I don't think that's the direction that we go. James says Knack just went 6 innings, 1 earned against the Yanks. Yeah, but the Yankees suck. So what does that say? No, but really, yeah. I think it was Alonso had the 2-run homer in that inning, and then the Mets added one more on, I believe it was an error that led to that run. So, he didn't pitch horrible against the Mets. His really only blemish was that Pete Alonso homer, and then he ended up, I'm pretty sure, working into the 7th, or at least the 6th inning, because I know he went longer than Senga did. So that was, like I said, a little frustrating that a guy who had such bad numbers and is like a 28-year-old rookie, like not, a highly touted prospect or anything, for the Mets not to just absolutely annihilate him. So I'm hoping the bats come out swinging, because I think they're going to need to this week in LA to keep up with the Dodgers. I don't think these are going to be pitching matchups. I think these are going to be like 7 to 8 runs per game for each of these teams that wins. The Dodgers are a powerhouse of a lineup. The Mets can be. They haven't totally shown it on a consistent basis, but I think if they want to compete with the Dodgers and in this series out on the West Coast this week, they're going to need to score lots of runs and in bunches. So hopefully that will be the case. And hopefully this little series against the Rockies will get that jump started. Like I said, the signs were great this weekend from the big boys, from Lindor with 3 homers in the 3 games, Soto with 2, including in back-to-back yesterday and today, Pete Alonso getting 1 up on the board, 3-run shot today. So all those signs were really, really good to see from this Mets lineup. Edwin Diaz continues to pitch well, which is obviously fantastic. And starting rotation has basically just been steady Eddie, always going out there, giving the Mets a good chance to win. It kind of just comes down to, hey, is the lineup hitting today? And luckily they did enough against the Rockies this weekend, and they're going to need to do a lot more, I think, against the Dodgers this upcoming week. But I really don't know. I don't know. I don't think that if the Mets lose 3 out of 4 this week against the Dodgers, that it's the end of the world. I don't think even if they lost all 4 games, it wouldn't be the end. Obviously, it would suck. I'd be really pissed. But it's so early in the season. I think this is a really talented run. Still, they're not at full strength. And this is just a really, really tough timing-wise part of the schedule to have to go out there across the country. So my expectations are low, and that is why, like I said, I am totally cool with splitting this series and getting 2 out of 4 versus the Dodgers and moving right back on to the Rockies once again out in Denver, which will be a very nice way for the Mets to rebound if they do, in fact, struggle against LAD. Stanley, when did the Mets call up Mauricio? Good question. I just said it during this stream. I think it's imminent. I really do. I think that Acuna's struggles have been well documented. I think that David Stearns is going to pull the trigger very soon. I think it's clearest, easiest path for Mauricio to get called back up is for Acuna to be demoted, and I think he'll basically assume his role. So it won't probably happen, I would guess, until next week now, because otherwise we'd probably heard about it right now, and Mauricio or Acuna would not be getting on the plane with the team out to Los Angeles. So I would guess Mauricio's probably going to get the call next week. And I think that the Mets will send Luis Angel Acuna back down to AAA. Personally, I don't get the infatuation with Jared Young. I just, I know they need that lefty bat off the bench, but that could be Mauricio, and then you keep Acuna on the roster as well. I would try to put Jared Young back through waivers and then send him to AAA if he clears. But for whatever reason, the Mets want to keep Jared Young right now on this roster. So me personally, I keep Acuna and I keep Mauricio. You're adding another guy with speed while keeping Acuna, who can still be that pinch runner in late inning situations, and hopefully see if he can figure it out hitting wise at the big league level. And then of course the glove that Acuna brings, both at second base, at third base, and in a pinch and an emergency at shortstop as well. So personally, I'm not a fan of sending down Acuna. I do want to see Mauricio, but I do think that is how the Mets are going to handle this situation. Let's see. Everyday Mets, we sweeping the Dodgers. They're punks. Yeah, I hate the Dodgers. You guys, you've heard me say it. My least favorite team in all of professional sports. Hate the Dodgers, hate their fans. They're the worst. Hope they never win another baseball game, exhibition, World Series, or otherwise for the rest of eternity. Absolutely despise that franchise and their fan. So no love lost between me and the LA Dodgers. I hope you're right, everyday Mets. I hope that they do sweep them. James says Mauricio today, 2 for 4, walk, RBI, stolen base. Dude, it's just killing it. Hit him 515, 1382 OPS. I mean, he is just, he's on fire. Absolutely on fire. So Stearns had said about 2 weeks ago that they were watching what Mauricio was doing, but that he would only be called up on a as-need basis. Well, then at the beginning of this series with the with the Rockies, he said on Friday that hinted really that he might need about 200 at-bats at AAA before the Mets would really consider giving him the call-up. So, I mean, he's inching closer and closer to that. He's probably at about 40 right now, so it's still going to be a little bit of time before he gets close to 200. But with the way that Acuna is going, with the Mets just trying to get this offense spark plugged, I think it could be sooner than later that Ronnie Mauricio is suiting up in the orange and blue in Queens for the Mets. So he's just been killing it. And I mean, I am pumped to see it, man. I am so pumped to see it. We've been following this dude since like 2016, 2017, when the Mets signed him as an international free agent and watched him develop through all the different levels of the minor leagues. We saw him come up in 23, that little tease with the pop and the speed and playing different positions, stealing bases. And we thought, damn, like we got this guy, like this is our dude. And then he tears his ACL playing in the Dominican winter. And then he doesn't have a great rehab process through it all and basically misses all of 2024, is delayed getting into spring training this year. Now all he's doing is hitting in AAA. So, I mean, I am pumped to see Ronnie Mauricio. Let me know, what do you guys think? What should the Mets do as far as Mauricio? Should they send down Luis Angel Acuna? Should they try to pass Jared Young through waivers and back to AAA? Or should the Mets give him more time in AAA, Mauricio that is, before trying to give him the call and making any roster moves? So I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section over here. Appreciate you guys all hopping in. Stanley Babbage, any word on Minaya and Montas? So Montas made a rehab start. I believe it was Friday or maybe Thursday in AAA, and it wasn't so great. I think he gave up 2 runs in 4 innings or something like that, including a homer. How that dude got $17 million from David Stearns, I will never, ever understand. That was a weird one for me, dude. Like Stearns or Frankie Montas has really not been the same, it seems, ever since he got traded to the Yankees at the deadline a couple years ago, and it did not pan out there. He then went to Cincinnati, and it wasn't such a great stretch for him there. And then last year at the deadline, acquired by Milwaukee, numbers were better than they were in Cincinnati, but still not great. You know, we're talking about a mid-4 ZRA kind of guy. Don't know how he ended up getting the deal that the Mets gave him, 2 years at $17 million a pop. But his rehab assignments had not been going well. As far as Minaya, he has not made any rehab starts in the minor leagues, but he does continue to get his arm stretched out, which would mean it's probably likely this week that he will be making a rehab start. Let's take a look According to Sports Illustrated, Mets Sean Manaea on track for early June rehab assignment. So let's see. Obviously, it's June 1st today, so that's a really good sign. He threw 20 pitches against live hitters in a bullpen session on Thursday and is on track to begin a minor league rehab assignment in early June. According to Anthony DiComo, expects to face hitters again before beginning his minor league rehab assignment. So it's all coming together here. And the Mets rotation has obviously been the strength of this team, and it's only going to get better with the return of Sean Manaea. Frankie Montas, it's going to be really interesting to see where all these guys fit in now, because Griffin Canning has absolutely 100% cemented himself in this rotation. Not only on the big league roster, but in this rotation. We're going to see Paul Blackburn make his debut tomorrow. And then you got Frankie Montas, who the Mets just handed a 2-year major league contract to this offseason. And of course, Sean Manaea, who was the team's ace in 2024. How are they going to get all of these guys not only into the rotation, but just to be a part of the major league roster at this point moving forward? I think it's pretty clear Tylor Megill is either getting sent down to AAA or he will be put in the bullpen. The Paul Blackburn situation, he does not have any options. So if the Mets give him a little test run here for a month and decide it's not working out, he's probably going to get picked up by another team. So I think Paul Blackburn, because he has no options, bodes in his favor, and the Mets are going to keep him for as long as they can and decide ultimately if it's, not working out, then finally to cut him. But I think Paul Blackburn is safe in that regard. So it seems like Tylor Megill is definitely the odd man out, and then it'll just be one of the names out of the bullpen, whoever is the lowest on the totem pole at that point, including when you factor in options to send them back to the minor league. So lots of big potential roster changes coming here in June as we head into the month. James says yesterday Mendoza said Mauricio was close to forcing them to make a move. I did not catch that. James, you need to be my co-host because you are on top of everything, man. I only consume as much as I can, but I did not watch all of Mendoza's presser yesterday. I think I was doing the stream here while he was doing that one. So I didn't catch that, but quote, forcing them to make a move, which is a great thing to hear. And it's backed by his numbers, like James said before here. 2 for 4 today. Overall, so far in AAA, 515 average and OPS over 1,300. I mean, it has been crazy what Ronnie Mauricio is doing. Really, really cool to see. Everyday Mets says, when Mauricio played in 23, I said to myself, the Mets got an Ellie De La Cruz. Yes, dude, could you imagine if he turned into an Ellie De La Cruz? Like, whoa, this lineup totally changes if that's the case. So let me ask, because this is the topic right now. We're talking Ronnie Mauricio for those of you that just joined. And by the way, thank you everyone for watching. And if you are just tuning in, be sure to give this stream a like. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way toward helping out the channel. And be sure to subscribe. You could also turn channel notifications on so you know whenever I'm going live or post one of my new videos. So now that I got that pop out of the way, Mauricio, we're talking about him right now. What is your guys' opinion? What do the Mets do if they do give him the call? So let's play it out this way. The Mets send Luis Angel Acuna down to AAA. They bring up Ronnie Mauricio. Give me your plan right now. Where do they play him? Where does he hit in the order? Is it every day? Is he going to DH? Tell me. I want to hear from you guys how you plan to utilize Ronnie Mauricio if that is, in fact, how it plays out. Let me know in the comment section right here. James, Megill is an option, so he is the first to go to AAA unless he pitches lights out. Yeah, I mean, it's like the writing is on the wall for Megill, and it's not even because he's not been pitching so great lately, but unfortunately, man, he's a victim of having an option. And I personally do think with a little bit of a mental transition to buying into being a relief pitcher, that Tylor Megill could be really good out of the bullpen. But some guys can make that move one way or the other. In the case of Clay Holmes, for example, and some guys just can't do that. Jabba Chamberlain, example. So I don't know, but I would love to see what we could get out of Megill in the bullpen. But because he has that option when Montas and when Manaea return, it seems inevitable, yes, that Tylor Megill will be getting sent back down to AAA. So unfortunate for him. you know, he's had his chances over the years, and he pitched really solid in the rotation the first 6, 7, 8 times through, and then his last 5 starts have been a little lackluster. So yeah, it seems pretty obvious that's the way the Mets are going to go. So Everyday Mets says, oh, I'm sorry, you already said that. When he played in 23, you thought he'd be Ellie De La Cruz. I thought you were going to tell me your plan for Mauricio when he comes to the big league. So I'll give you mine. I was giving you guys a minute there to marinate over it, and a minute for myself as well. If the Mets do demote Acuna and bring up Mauricio, as I believe will be the case, I'm giving everyday starts to Ronnie Mauricio at second. Like, I am done with Jeff McNeil. I do not ever need to see him playing for the Mets again. Want to continue to get him in there? Put him at left field. Put him in the outfield. Fine. Put him at DH. Fine. But if Mauricio is called up, I am giving him everyday starts at second base. I'm hitting him 6, 7, somewhere in that area, probably 7. And I'm making Brett Beatty the starting third baseman, and I'm giving the everyday DH spot to Mark Vientos as much as possible until Jesse Winker comes back, and then that's a whole nother can of worms. But let's see what we got with Mauricio at this point. Give him the everyday starts at second base. Is he healthy enough to do that is my question. Coming off of that ACL tear, is he moving enough? Does he have enough range of motion? Do you want to risk him potentially getting hurt again or having, a type of setback or anything like that by playing the field that often? That I don't know. Only the Mets can answer that. But for me, I would have the Mets starting lineup essentially be just defensively Alvarez, Torrens behind the plate, however you want to mix it. Alonso at first, Mauricio at second, Lindor at short, of course, and then at third base, Brett Beatty. Left field, of course, is going to be Brandon Nimmo. Center field, Tyrone Taylor. Right field, Juan Soto. And then the DH spot, I'm giving it to Mark Vientos 7 out of 10 days, if not more. Obviously they want to keep Marte fresh in there. We know Marte hits lefties well. Obviously Vientos does too. So they got to figure out something in that regard. But I think that's the most optimal way to bring Mauricio up, give him starting time at second base, to continue to give Brett Beatty his pop at third base. And he's continued to play very well defensively there and swinging a hot bat since his recall from AAA. I think that's the way the Mets need to go about this entering the month of June, should they call up Mauricio. Let's see what you guys had to say. James option Acuna, then Mauricio, second Beatty. Oh my, dude, James and I are just like, we're simpatico. It's like always right there on the same level with me, my guy. I appreciate it. The option Acuna, Mauricio to second, Beatty at third, Vientos to DH, some third base, tough lineup, McNeil more center left. That's exactly what I was saying. James and I are on the same wavelength, like could not be any more precise of the same answer than what we just had right there, James. I love it. That's exactly how I do it too. Stanley Babbage says, keep Beatty at third, Vientos at DH, Mauricio at second, and send Acuna to, there we go. So we're 3 for 3. We're all thinking the same thing. Everyday Mets, can you complete the trifecta? He gives us a lineup. Okay, this is interesting. So he gives us this lineup. Everyday Mets says Lindor lead off, Mauricio in the 2-hole, Soto hitting third, Alonso fourth, Beatty fifth, playing third base, Vientos hitting sixth and DHing, Nimmo seventh, Alvi 8, and Siri 9. Yeah, okay. I mean, I like it. Siri obviously is still recovering from that broken tibia, but dang, that guy can recover fast. He was taking batting practice this week at Citi Field before the White Sox series. So Siri potentially on his way back. We really did not get to know Siri all too well as he got injured, like the third week into the season. So that'll be great to get Jose Siri back. I like that lineup, but I do think that putting Mauricio in the 2-hole right now would be a little premature. I think it'd be better to let him just kind of get his feet wet a little bit at the big league level again, get acclimated again. Plus, Brandon Nimmo has just been awesome in that 2 spot in the lineup lately, and it looks like he's activated. So I would keep Nimmo in the 2 spot of this lineup, but I like the rest of that for sure. I like Nimmo 2, switch out Mauricio to the 7 spot, then go Alvi, and then in the final spot in the order, go a mix of Tyrone Taylor and Jose Siri when he does end up returning. But really, really solid. I like it. So we're basically all on the same page here. If Acuna's the one to get sent down, we're giving everyday starts to Mauricio at second base. We're giving everyday starts to Beatty at third base, and we're making Mark Vientos the DH. Sprinkle in a couple starts there at third base, and then maybe put Beatty at DH or put Marte at DH and just mix and match that way between those three guys. I think that's the foolproof way to do it all. I think that's the way. James says, everyday Mets, bench bats, Terrence, Marte, Taylor, Acuna. Yep. I mean, well, Acuna would be off, I believe, if that's the case. We would have too many position players if that's the case, everyday Mets. We got to figure that out. I think you're looking at a few too many position players if that's the case right there. James says, no Siri. He's terrible. Was hitting 050 when he got hurt. Yes. So Siri is an interesting one. He is the definition of boomer bust. Like, he is the Dave Kingman of this generation, but not as good. But he also can fly, like, ridiculous speed. Jose Siri, I think was a 15 homer bat with the Rays, each of the last several years, but also will strike out a ton. Does not hit for an average, barely above the Mendoza line. And it was really bad those first 3 weeks with the Mets. Made a couple of runs, created them with his speed, which is going to be really fun to get back. But I think he's better than he was those first 3 weeks of the season. I think he's going to run into some. That was the hope when the Mets acquired him. It was basically Harrison Bader or trade for Jose Siri for some guy that I believe was kind of a no-name minor leaguer, and a guy that the Mets and Siri believe could run into a few and potentially hit 15 or 20 home runs in a good season. So that was the Mets' hope when David Stearns acquired him. Personally, I loved Harrison Bader. I loved the vibes Bader brought last year to this team, and I wish that the Mets would have re-signed him. And in hindsight, that might have been a better move because they basically put that money toward Frankie Montas, who at this point, one, doesn't look necessary, and two, I never thought was a great starting pitcher or signing to begin with. But, again, hindsight 2020, of course. But hopefully Siri does live up to some of those expectations, shows off the pop that we know he has, and can swipe some bags, create some havoc on the base pass. And let's not forget, Gold Glove center fielder. I mean, he has not actually won one, but Gold Glove caliber defense in center field. We obviously get that with Tyrone Taylor already, but how nice will it be to have it in Siri as well on those days when Taylor needs a break and vice versa. So really, really nice little center field platoon that the Mets have going on where they're mostly prioritizing speed and defense. But hey, Tyrone Taylor's been pretty solid at the plate recently as well. And we know he had a really good year for them last year too. So really, really happy about what we got going on up the middle. Everyday Mets, we got 4 bench bats. Yeah, so who's getting demoted though for bringing Mauricio up? I guess Jared Young is your call, but then you're also bringing up Jose Siri in that proposed lineup. So somebody's got to go from that team unless I'm missing something there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know right now off the top of my head. Something about that looks funny because Siri's not on the roster right now. I guess we're still missing Winker as well. I don't know. I guess I'm not good at math, like I said. I'm not good at math, so forget I said anything. I like it. We get 4 bench bats in that one. Okay, solid. James Siri's a pinch runner and 2+ starts per month. Yeah, I mean, he'll probably be kind of like that, but I do think the Mets believe that Siri is going to have the power he showed off in Tampa. And again, it's going to come with a ton of strikeouts and a very low batting average, but let's just look at his numbers. I'm pretty sure last year with the Rays, he ran into 16 homers or something like that. In his previous years with the team, he also had similar power numbers. But 2025, Siri had, 2024, he had 18 homers. In 2023, he had 25 homers. So, this is just kind of the territory it comes with. Now, granted, last year he had 18 homers, but he hit 187. And the year before that, when he hit 25 homers, he hit a much more respectable, but still pretty lousy 222. And he does not walk a lot. Career 265 on base percentage. Yikes. That is rough. But does give you really good Gold Glove caliber defense up the middle as well. So, yeah, I mean, you're right, James. If he's not hitting home runs, he's only good for defensive purposes and for swiping bags and creating havoc on the base paths with his speed. So I'm with you there. Obviously, we didn't see a whole lot. Hitting 050, no home runs with the Mets in the first 3 weeks of this season before that fractured tibia that he suffered out in West Sacramento. So I think he's still probably at least 4 weeks away, I would guess. But I think he's progressing much quicker than anybody would have anticipated because, I mean, dude was taking batting practice this week. So that was pretty crazy to see. I did not expect that. Stanley, Platoon McNeil and Taylor at center field. Honestly, man, just get rid of Jeff McNeil, please. That's the one that you're missing out of your bench there every day, Mets. That's why I was all messed up. You forgot Jeff McNeil. So are you planning to cut Jeff McNeil in that scenario where we're bringing up Mauricio and you have the team keeping Acuna as well? And I just don't think the Mets will cut McNeil considering he's still got $25 million due to him over the next 2 years, plus a club option for 2027. As James pointed out for me the other night on the stream. So you got to reevaluate that lineup that you were showing us up here, Everyday Mets. But let's see. Siri, 18 homers last year. Yeah, 621 OPS. How is that even? Because he doesn't walk. Because he can't draw a walk because he's always chasing and swinging out of the zone. That's why he has such a poor OPS below 700. Let's take a look at his chase rate if we could find that. Jose Siri StatCast. Because he's got to probably have like all blue marks on his chase rate from 2024, meaning he does it a lot, that he goes out of the strike zone. I am planning to hopefully open a new feature here on these streams, guys. Again, I've talked to you about Discord here and having you guys call into the show at the link down here. That is getting worked on at the moment. Right now, I'm going right back to working on it after we finish this one here today. And then I'm also going to start having the ability to share my screen with you guys so that you could see the stats and the stuff that I'm looking up on the side as well. We can make it a little more interactive, but I'm definitely most excited for the Discord calls. Again, I've been just trying to get this figured out. It's taken me so long, so I apologize. But that will be really fun. It'll be like a live call-in show, like radio, sports talk radio. So hopefully that will be the case here by the start of this week. But let's take a look again, going back to Siri, because James pointed out 18 homers, but like a 620 OPS last year, which is like, how is that even possible? So his expected batting average in 2024 was 200, meaning like probably was getting really, really lucky that season when he hit 222, which even that's not super impressive. But 2024, let's see. Okay, 2022. Now we're going to 23 and 24. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm guessing that he just swings at a bunch of crap because he doesn't walk. So in the 1 percentile of squared up rate, he is in the 12th percentile of chase percentage. He's 35.2 in chase percentage. And whiff percentage, so amounts of swings and misses, is in the first percentile, aka the worst, the absolute worst of the worst as far as his whiff percentage. So Jose Siri goes up there with the lumber. He takes a big hack. He either hits a long ball home run out of the park or he swings and misses and strikes out a ton. So that is how you hit 18 homers and have a 622 OPS. Like I said, Dave Kingman, like the 3 true outcomes of baseball: home run, strikeout, or a walk, except Jose Siri is missing the walk part. So yeah, that's how you end up with a 622 OPS. That's tough. Still owe McNeil $27 million, $2 million buyout. Yeah, so $2 million buyout, that would be on top of the $27 million. Yeah. Okay, so a total of $27 million because he has 25 due for the rest of this year and then for whatever's on the contract next season as well. So it would cost them a total of $27 million to get rid of McNeil, which, I mean, it ain't my money. I'll do it. I don't want McNeil on this team. I don't think he has a spot on this team. I've been saying it for years, but Elvin, Solano, Brett, hitless, Beatty, 0 for 4. Hope his bat wakes up against the Dodgers. Yeah, not a great day for Beatty today. 0 for 4, 3 Ks in this one. But, you know, I mean, dude's been hitting so well lately. It's hard to get on him for this one. Hopefully it was just a bad day at the yard for him. This was a tough side-arming lefty that the team had never faced before. So it was obviously not a great day for Beatty to be in the lineup. I wanted him in the lineup, but it was going to be a challenge, and that's exactly how it turned out to be. Like I said, side-arming lefty, doesn't throw hard, but had great extension, as they pointed out on the broadcast. And yeah, it was a tough day for him, but I think he will be okay. I think he will be in the lineup this week, other than in that start against Kershaw, who is a lefty. I think Vientos will start at third base, and Marte will be back in there against him. But yeah, I think I still think that Beatty is on the rise right now and should be getting the majority of starts at third base. James says, trade McNeil to LAD, pay part of the salary to replace bad Conforto. I am just going to say this right now. I would never do a trade with the Dodgers. I would never do it because, and specifically with this idea here, I just know that Jeff McNeil is going to go to the Dodgers. Jeff McNeil, by the way, is from the Southern California area. He's from San Luis Obispo, so maybe about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, 2.5 hours away. I just know that McNeil will go to the Dodgers and turn back in to the 2022 batting title, Jeff McNeil. I have no interest in sending him there. If you want to send him to Minnesota or to Cleveland or to like Houston, fine by me, have at it. I am not sending him to a team like the Dodgers or another National League opponent. Now, I mean, obviously, let's see what the other team is offering, but that would terrify me that we trade Jeff McNeil to somebody that the Mets are jockeying for position within the National League playoffs, and he turns back into the batting champion, Jeff McNeil, that we knew from 2022. So hopefully that won't be the case. But Stanley says, would you trade a package of prospects for Skeens? I mean, yeah, of course, but I've been seeing a lot of trade proposals from fans on Twitter and whatnot for Skeens. The Pirates aren't trading. Not yet. I mean, it's only his second year. They still have 5 more years of control of him after this season. The Pirates are not going to trade him right. I mean, if they're not planning to compete, then they should, but they don't operate in terms of baseball wins and losses. That owner, Bob Nutting, operates in terms of how many days out of the week can I get close to a sellout and make the most money at my ballpark. And make the most money at their ballpark when Paul Skeens is towing the rubber for them. So I don't believe the Pirates are trading Paul Skeens anytime soon. So would I offer a package of prospects for Skeens? Yes, but the Pirates are not going to trade him at this moment right now. And it's really sad. I said it when the Mets were playing the Pirates in that series. It'll just be another stud prospect from a team like the Pirates or the Athletics that they don't build around, that they don't try to win with, that they trade for a bundle of prospects to a big name team like the Dodgers or the Yankees, or I guess you could even say the Mets now. So we're kind of guilty of it. But then the Pirates will just end up fumbling the bag with those new prospects as well. So it's rinse and repeat. The vicious cycle continues for teams like the Pirates. And it's all starts with the owners, because they could win if they wanted to, and they don't invest in the team properly, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. Let's see. James says, but LAD needs to replace Conforto, 173 average, 602 OPS. I mean, yeah, but he's not starting for them every day. And I don't know if they'd be interested in McNeil. And honestly, I don't know what the Mets would even be looking to get back from the Dodgers for him. You don't really see like two teams that, we're the two top teams in the National League, the Mets and the Dodgers. You really don't ever see them linking up on a trade during the season that, even if you think that they're each going to improve your respective team, you really don't ever see teams that are competing for one of the top spots in the same league pulling off a trade like that in June or in August, July. So I just don't think it's realistic. And I don't even know what the Mets would be getting back from the Dodgers in this scenario. Like, if you give me a hypothetical, I'll give you a yes or a no. But I couldn't see it happening. I don't think the two teams would link up on something like that. That's just my. Guys, look, we've been going an hour 15. This has been fun. You guys have been awesome, but I think it's time we wrap it up, especially since my computer battery is at 4%. So I want to thank you all, D-Rels, Everyday Mets, James, Stanley Babbage, let's see, Elvin Solano, and everyone else that has tuned in for this post-game stream is the Mets complete the sweep of the Rockies. They win this one on Sunday by a final score of 5-3. Homers from Soto, Lindor, and Alonso. Edwin Diaz closing the door on them, and the Mets improved to 37-22, 15 games over 500, their best mark of 2025, as they now head out to the West Coast for a 4-game series with the LA Dodgers. We will have a pre-game preview tomorrow. We're not going to do a post-game recap because it will be basically 1:30 in the morning East Coast time by the end of that one. But I think I'm going to do a pre-game show tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that. If you're not already subscribed, do that now and turn channel notifications on so you know when I go live. And leave this video a like if you don't mind on your way out. Really goes a long way toward helping out the channel. So guys, thank you so much all for joining. I appreciate it. I am Tony Metro. Until next time, stay true to the orange and blue.